I've been waiting for months now to, just wait for this session to happen. And I've been planning what should I say to all of you, what would make sense. But as soon as the list of topics was shared with me, this topic of becoming an exceptional QA, exceptional tester, good to great, it just hit me. And I'm not going to bore you today with a PPT. I'm sorry. I'm not going to bombard you with jargons and, all that fluffy stuff, which will make you feel like, oh my God, how insignificant am I? So pardon me for, not doing all those things, but I would try to keep it as simple as possible, because I think the first thumb of rule that comes for testing or testers is how can we keep it simple? Because more often than not, our work is something which the problem is many of the testers can't explain what they are doing, what they have done. And I think that is a problem, not just for testers, but even developers. So I'm going to, talk about these concerns, maybe share few of the experience from my own life, which is not to brag, but just to let you know that if an ordinary girl coming from an orthodox conservative family, being the only female in a testing, automation, or a development team, if I can do this, I'm pretty sure so can you. Because when I started my world of testing, it was after my BTech in engineering, 2011. The first company that I got placed in with gave me a job in testing, because testing is what gives them money. Testing is what they had clients for. And once you top the training of a MNC or a company, they put you onto work, right? So I'm very grateful that I was put into testing. Yes, I had a lot of friends who would mock me that I am into testing and I'm doing only manual testing and all of that. But do you realize most of them were on bench? And I think nobody should have any authority on people who are as hardworking as testers, because uh, the whole point of testing is we provide quality to not just the product, the company, but service. And I think we are the first user experience or user acceptance testing or user advocates. So I'm also going to let you know how many other roles and how many other spaces you can actually venture into, and don't get onto the pressure of becoming great. I understand these words carry a lot of pressure, right? So I feel like, though I'm not able to see all a great number of testers, but I think we are kind of understanding each other's frequency. And this is one sort of an automation also, right? We all are sitting at our homes, offices, different geography, and trying to understand and learn from each other. So first of all, when you get into testing, the whole point is not becoming best or better or good compared to somebody else, but how can you become good, better, best compared to whatever version of you were. So don't try to be too hard on yourself, but try to understand how better can you do progress in your own space, in your own area of expertise. And that's how you get to the best thing. It's like, again, software, right? We test version after version after version before anything goes into prod. And what I'm doing currently is, I'm a Java person, so I'm doing all of this in runtime, right? I don't know how to rehearse it and give to you like a robot. But I also understand that, there are robots and AI and aggressive AI and chat GPT and all sorts of stuff which are coming in the market, which are actually creating a lot of fear in the minds of testers. But to be very honest, when automation was becoming a boom in the testing world, it was said that automation will also take away the job of testers. But that did not happen, right? I think my developer fraternity and friends would get angry. You can probably do without a developer, you can probably do without a BA, but you cannot do without a tester. I started writing on LinkedIn since past 3 years, though I had a LinkedIn account, and I remember writing something which everybody loved, and I would like to share a couple of lines with you, because everything requires testing. If it's a vaccine, if it's a rocket, whatever that might be, everything requires testing. So never give up the faith in you that testing would go away. So testing is not going away, your area is not going away. What can you do so that you stick to the area and you provide value to the company, right? It's like, I think you're going to hear this sentence a lot in today's seminar or session, because I think that is again another big pressure on testers, that we have to always show to the world, show to the company, show to our developers that we bring value to the table. I swear to God, for the past 11 and more years, I remember how much value I bring as a tester, and sometimes I also bring the table along with me. So forget about adding value on the table. So, and I think you guys might also echo these sentiments with me, right? Because there's so much going on when it comes to testing. You get the build at last moment. There is something that is not working. There is a patch that works. There's a patch that is missed by the developer team. And the best part about testing, which I feel is the best part about testing, is the developers might know only the small chunks of things that they are creating. They might not even understand the unit or integration test. I'm sorry again to developers, but fact is fact, right? And we are supposed to talk about some brutal, some uncomfortable truths today so that we can become that best, right? So the best thing about testing is there would, and probably also the worst, probably there's only one tester taking care of the entire development, probably taking care of the entire line of business, probably taking care of the entire automation, which means this person, or maybe if a small number of team of people, is taking care of the entire functionality end to end, which means that you have a better knowledge of the product, the user expectation, compared to any developer on the team. Now, the cons of becoming this amazing is sometimes your development manager can get intimidated, and you might be brought onto calls where people are not able to figure out something, and the tester is brought on the call, which really intimidates development manager a lot. If this is already happening with you, I think you're already on the path of achieving greatness. So just giving you a huge shout out, because yeah, this has happened with me. I'm probably sure it has happened with some of you guys as well. So that's one of the thing, knowing the entirety of thing. And I think this is also one false interpretation of testing, that um, testers are somebody like who can just pick up something manual and get it done. But we are also engineers or MCAs or BCAs. If we look at the degree, or if we forget about the degree, we still understand computing, programming, and all of these things. Otherwise, how are we able to test something end to end? It is a myth when somebody says testers don't know things. If you don't know things, then you're probably going to be a bad one. You have to know things to be even good for the first place. Forget about great. So understanding, focusing on what you are testing. It doesn't matter if you start with manual. I did first 6 months manual, and I'll give you my secret recipe. I went to my manager, who was a very strict manager, first manager of my life. And I said to him openly that I can continue doing this. I have friends who mock me that I'm into testing, despite having topped your company's training program. And I am an engineer. I've done my BTech in IT. I need a little bit of coding. He recommended me to a project which required somebody with 5, 7 years, whatever experience. I had to give a client round, because all of us have to give those kind of interviews and stuff like that. But it's upon you how you crack it, and how you, it's not about just cracking it. The main struggle also starts later. So it's about knowing your basics. And if you really want something, because I get so many messages on LinkedIn from people who would be like, I want to get into automation, but how do I get into automation? It's you who has to raise that hand. It's you who has to let your manager, lead, senior, whatever that might be, let them know your intention, that you are interested in automation, which will lead you to the path of getting into automation if you want to. Again, it doesn't mean that manual tester and automation tester are earning anything differently. Yes, there might be a difference, but still testing is testing, and we have to fight a lot for the pay we get. It doesn't matter if you are manual, performance, automation. Again, all of this comes down to how good of a tester are you really, and what things you bring to the table. So for instance, even while automation, my job is to automate things. No automation person can automate something out of thin air. You need to understand your system, architecture of it. You need to understand programming language. I felt extremely proud that I write code on top of developers' code. I see a lot of testers don't even feel proud of being a tester. I, hands down, I feel very proud of myself that I am a tester, was, am, and I think I'll continue being one. That's that's my curse. And I think you should be proud of what you are. If you're not, probably you should think about what you really want out of your career and your life. But again, I understand all of us have families, all of us have to pay bills and take care of stuff. But if we are in this call today, if we are in this session and seminar today, we probably need to retrospect what are we thinking of getting from testing as a career, right? So, and again, like I was talking about automating and creating code on top of it, you cannot become an automation person without manually testing the entire flow. People think, okay, manual tester is different, this is different. You need to know your basics. You need to know how that entire functionality, how that entire traversal happened. So you are actually a manual tester, an automation person who can program, person who can code. I remember sometimes I've also taken up task of a scrum master or a BA. So BA meaning business analyst, who understands the requirements, then finalizes what things we need to put into picture, prioritize, question. I think the best, again, there's so many best part of testing, right? For me, there are so many best part of testing. I think it matches my personality, testing as a career. So the best part is you should ask questions. From my personal experience, I remember managers who would be like, Shruti, you are not supposed to ask questions, which means you're actually asking some right questions, some difficult questions, which is not being able to be digested by them. But until unless we as testers ask question, how can we do our job right? I remember, again, giving an example from my life. In one of the sprint, there was one particular kind of architecture that needed to be tested and gone into production. And after a couple of releases, we had to change the entire system architecture of our product. I went to the developer saying that, okay, you gave me a build of the future one, and this is not what we are supposed to be testing in this one. Hands down, he didn't know what he was doing and what was happening. It took me an hour or something to get everybody on the table, the head of QA, this, that, etc. But it's a bank. We just can't let something slip like this, you know. I mean, I understand it's the developer's baby, it's the developer's code, but every time there is a miss, there is a defect, there is a bug, it's actually the tester's neck who will be under that oath or sword or whatever, right? So it's our moral responsibility to be asking questions and understanding what we are testing, how we are testing, how it's supposed to go. Because if you become a lead, if you become a manager, you are not just doing your work, but you are also delegating your task to a team who is looking up to you, right? The whole point of being a leader is people are looking up to you, how you are going to save them, how you're going to protect them, and how you're going to create their career also better, right? So brushing up a little bit what we have come so far, focus, being proud of what you're doing, engineering knowledge, programming knowledge, understanding if I can become multiple, I can be wearing multiple hats, because I don't know of a good tester who doesn't wear multiple hats, right? And I'll tell you what, wearing these multiple hats, which will actually help you further your growth. If you would look at my LinkedIn profile, it looks like a story to me, because it goes from tester, automation enthusiast, T-shaped developer, solutions engineer, to independent consultant or podcaster that I am today. As a tester, you need to be good in your communication skills. If you are not, in general, if you are good at communication, you can be anything, right? In today's world, where everybody is looking out to how can we talk, how I think I'm also approached because I can talk, right? But this important thing of how can I talk is also boiling down to your work. When you can explain what work I do, what I have automated, how much I have automated. Because again, another question which a lot of testers ask me is, my manager keeps asking me, how many scripts have you automated and why only this much and how much time does it take? So communication is such a big thing. If you learn it in your work, it starts to spill in your other sides also. I understand some of us are born talkative like me, but I think some of us need to also invest in how we can talk. I'm not saying that you're supposed to boast and go about saying about every button click that you have done, but at least you should know what you're working, how you're working. And if at all you get the chance to present it to your team, start from there. Communication should come from there. Next, what do I want to talk about? The entire transition that I spoke of, right, from my journey, it might look as a very complex thing to many people, because I know some of them are like, what have you done really? How much have you done? It looks like so many things you've done. And yes, I've done so many things, but that really helps me to become a T-shaped developer or a full stack developer. Or maybe if I want, or I wished I could have become a product manager, a project manager, a scrum master, maybe somebody from an agile coach or something, or a business analyst. There are so many different avenues which open up literally for you if you do your work right and you start questioning things, understanding things, focus. And again, like I was saying at the beginning, you don't have to become great in one day, but gradual steps at all these different recipes, which would definitely take you there. So I hope I'm making sense. I've still not looked at the questions, if at all there are any coming. But again, I would like to reiterate this, being conscious of the time that we are given, that you don't need to worry about a new technology, a bot or something coming in. Just focus on your basics. Keep it simple, because today you might be working on a Java framework. Tomorrow you're supposed to be doing a Python, or maybe day after you're supposed to utilize a low code, no code, right? Who knows? Things are changing like so rapidly. Jobs are changing so rapidly. Forget about job stability. Companies are changing so rapidly. You never know if the company would sustain another day or not. So while there is so much of ruckus and chaos and instability, the only thing that you can be stable with is your own skill set, your own things that you bring to the table, as they say while interviewing you. So start working on yourself. Take baby steps, but try to understand how you can get your focus into this. Try learning a new language, try implementing a couple of things by raising your hands, by saying, okay, I would like to see how this works, how this goes. Creating a framework. I still see so many people get so scared about creating a framework. I was too scared also when I had to create my first one. But once you get that done, then there's no hackathon, there's no team, there's nothing stopping you from creating more and more of frameworks, because it gives you that rush, it gives you that happiness of finally creating something which you can call as, okay, I'm also a developer and I created something. If at all you're looking for that developer tag on your name, I like to be all in one, jack of all trade, master of none. So I created all of this for myself because I enjoy this. It like I said, it's all about my personality, and I think it's all about your personality too. If this is what you enjoy, it would start to reflect in your work that you do, and things that you automate and which way you automate. So don't be afraid of the languages, they come and go. Don't be afraid of the technologies, they come and go. What will stay is you. So I'm not quite sure. Are there any questions which are there for me? I would be very conscious of the time, and I would not like to, you know, step over some other testers too. So yeah, Shivani.
You do have questions,
Okay.
and don't worry, you're not stepping in the on the time. So yeah, you do have five more minutes. So
Okay.
you can see in the Q&A session, right?
Okay. From
Can
where?
I make a test for our OT during shutdown? That was the first question I saw.
Can I make a test for our what?
OT during shutdown.
I don't understand.
Okay, can you look at the Q&A section, Shruti?
No, I mean, I am looking at it, but what do you mean by OT during shutdown? I don't understand what
Somebody has asked that.
If you could just maybe anonymous, like help me understand what that means. I'll by the time move to another question. Why would someone want to leave QA, become a scrum master? What's wrong with being a QA? There's nothing wrong with being a QA. I'm just saying, if you take up different tasks, because a QA does multiple tasks and roles. In case you feel like, okay, QA is becoming redundant for me, you have more career options. I was just giving you an option. You don't have to get into any of this if you don't feel like. Just giving you options. Uh, Interesting topic. Need to hear your speech. Do you have any specific tips on becoming great? Okay, I thought I was trying to be specific, and I'll just summarize a couple of points again. Specific tips for you. Understand your own personality type, which means that are you curious to ask questions? Are you curious to understanding technology? Are you curious about engineering? A little of this will help you understand how good or bad you can be at testing in the first place. Uh, Try to improve your communication skills, because at the end of the day, a tester is communicating with a whole lot of team, right? Like the entire teams for that matter. So focus on your communication. If you want to get into automation or other aspects, uh, be a learner. We as engineers, if we call ourselves that, we need to keep improving ourselves and keep learning something day after day, which doesn't mean that I just go on to chat GPT and generate some random code. You will have to get your hands dirty and try for yourself. So if I summarize the entire thing and come to 3 points, is focus, keep your own version being upgraded every day, communication, and keep learning the new technology stuff that happen. I'm seeing my own history as yours, Shruti. The first time I've created a framework, now I was able to create a process to company, and the secret, as you said, is communication. Okay. Thank you so much, Tatiane. I'm not sure if I'm getting your name right, but I think we need to connect. You feel like a soul sister or a soul tribe to me. It feels really nice. And thank you so much, amazing people, for such lovely words. It makes, sense to me as a tester that whatever I was trying to share, being very vulnerable and sharing from my own experience and learning, it probably was making some sense to you. Which one is better automation tool in market? But I'm in Tosca automation. I totally get this, but I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky. I was trained onto all the heavy duty stuff like QTP, UFT, load runner. But every time my bank, MNC, startup would ask me to automate something, they ask me for something open source, which is why I know Java, Ruby, Python, etc. Because you have to find something open source. There is no budget for testing, and how can we buy tools, etc., etc. So I think it's more of how much budget your company has, uh, and also about what kind of a product or kind of technology is being used on the thing that you're automating. So if Tosca looks like a better thing, maybe people would be going with that. But personally, I think those days are gone. There's so much more in the market these days, right? So keeping this moving, what habits needed a change when you switch to writing code for testing? To be very honest, there was no habit change. I was just being me when I went to my manager, and that smile from Shivani was like, okay, yeah, she is that crazy person. She can't change. So, yes. So, I might become a different iteration to become a better tester, but at the core, I am still me from what I was to what I am still. And I think there has to be a core of you which remains the same, but it keeps on improving for the better of the world, for the better of the company, for the better of yourself. So I don't think so there was a habit change. I had done my engineering. I was waiting to write code. I was not getting that opportunity, and I didn't change the habit. I just went to my manager, and people deem it or label it as being vocal, but nobody's mind reader, right? If you want something, you have to ask for it. Otherwise, the answer is always no. So I didn't change any of my habit. Will low code, no code automation tool AI remove the need of Selenium from market? Wow, that's such a great question, Anand. Um, to be honest, Selenium is the first low code, no code thing if you ever see. Like when we got into testing, and I was like that newbie tester, the first thing we got to play was record and playback, which was in Selenium. And it took 10 years to so many different testing companies and products to create something low code, no code, or record and playback. So I think Selenium is like the pioneer. It's like that legendary thing for all of our testers. And if you get nothing else, maybe you're not having anything with respect to budget, licensing, or your product and or your project constraints, I would definitely recommend testers to get their hands dirty on Selenium record and playback or something like that, right? So that at least they get hang of tools. I understand low code, no code would be a little different, but I don't think so. Selenium is going anywhere because it's open source. So in fact, I see a lot of low code, no code actually, showing themselves as open source, but there will be a couple of things which get into the paid version of it. So I don't think so Selenium is going anywhere. Thank you so much.